Hello, students. हॅलो, कोण आलेला आहे? रोहन. ओके. हॅलो. मुलांनो अनम्यूट करा. कोण कोण आलेले आहेत? Students, unmute yourself and talk to me. Sahil, Rutvik, Suraj. Okay. Aniket. Yes, Avdut. You want to ask something, Avdut? You can unmute yourself and can ask anything, whatever, if you want to ask. So students, for your attendance, please enter your name in the chat box. It will be recorded. Can you listen to me, everybody? Am I audible? Answer, Saurabh, Suraj. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Ha. Rohit, are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Ha. Trupti is coming, I think. Okay. Students, shall we start? Because we have limited time, isn't it? Answer anybody? Shall we start?
Yes, ma'am.
We shall start then. Okay. So we are discussing about the basics of microcontroller and Intel 8051 architecture. Okay. During yesterday's lecture, we have studied what we have studied, students. Can anybody tell? Anybody unmute yourself and tell me what we have studied yesterday? Anybody? Yes, Suraj, Vedant.
Ma'am, difference between microcontroller and microprocessor.
Difference between microcontroller and microprocessor we have studied, and along with this we have also discussed the various applications of microcontroller. And I told you, you should be able to write some applications of microcontroller, and at least you should be able to explain the 5 differences between microprocessor and microcontroller. So while studying the differences between microcontroller and microprocessor, what we have studied is microprocessor is a general purpose computing machine, whereas microcontroller is a specific application oriented computing system. And we have also seen that many of the blocks are components like RAM, ROM, input output ports, interrupts, etc. are connected externally to the microprocessor. Whereas all these things are present on chip of the microcontroller. Okay, microcontroller is a single chip computing system, whereas microprocessor is not. This is what is the main difference between the microprocessor and microcontroller. Okay, so dear students, now let us move to the next important part of this topic. Today, what we are going to do is we are going to study architecture of 8051 microcontroller. So as all of you know, what is meaning of the architecture, isn't it? What is meaning of architecture, students? Yes, tell me, anybody who knows the meaning of the architecture?
Blueprint.
Blueprint or the structure of the 8051 microcontroller. Actually, in the architecture of 8051, you will be studying the internal structure of this 8051 microcontroller. Now, internal structure means whether we are going to study what actually the circuit is. No, the actual circuit is very, very complicated and no one can study it for a syllabus. And therefore, to simplify this, what is done, the internal structure is studied in the form of the block diagram. So instead of detailed circuitry, we are going to study the internal block diagram of the 8051 microcontroller. So students, today we will be studying the internal block diagram of the microcontroller. So during the lecture, if you have any doubt, you can ask me. You can unmute yourself and you can ask me whatever doubt you have. Or during last 5 minutes, we will discuss about your doubts. Okay. So dear students, now let us start with the architecture of 8051 or internal structure of the 8051. Okay. Now let us move to the next slide. Now on your screen, what you can observe, students? Yes, unmute and tell me. Unmute and tell me what you can observe on the screen.
Microcontroller components.
Microcontroller components you can observe. Can anybody read these components? Yes, anybody? Yes, read it, read it. Unmute
ALU
yourself and
accumulator.
read it loudly.
ALU accumulator registers, program counter, stuck pointer, oscillator, internal ROM, internal RAM, IO ports, counter, timer, serial port, interface logic, bus control.
Okay, thank you, Rohit Patil. So now I will repeat the components of the microcontroller once again. The first component is ALU. Do you know what is long form of ALU? During your first year studies, we have studied ALU. Can anybody
Arithmetic
tell me?
logical unit.
Arithmetic logical unit. Yes, correct. So this is one of the component of the microcontroller. Any processing machine has compulsorily arithmetic logic unit. Whatever program you write in assembly language or in higher level language also, so each line of the program is converted into either arithmetic operation or the logical operation, and which is performed by this particular unit, that is arithmetic logic unit. So now for a while we will discuss the components, names of the components, and then we will go to the detailed working of each and every block or component of the 8051 microcontroller. Okay, the second component in green color that you can observe is about the resistors. Accumulator resistor is there. Accumulator resistor, it is also called as a resistor. Resistor is a component which is used for the storage. Okay, program counter is one type of resistor. Okay, function of program counter already I have told you. Do you remember what I have told you? What is function of program counter? Anybody? Yes? Can anybody tell me? Program counter holds the address of the next instruction to be executed. Students, while watching the lecture, you have to carry a notebook and pen with you and note down the important points of the lecture in your notebook. And afterwards, you can take a photo of that particular page and send it to me on the WhatsApp group. Okay? So then and then only I can get a feedback that you are really listening. Okay? And if you are answering during this session, then also I'll get a feedback that you are really listening and you are also understanding what I am telling to you. Okay? Do you got,
Okay, ma'am.
students?
Yes, ma'am.
Answer all.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. So stack pointer is also one type of the resistor which is present in the 8051 microcontroller. Apart from this, there is oscillator. This component is called as oscillator. This component, as you know, all of you know what is ROM. It is internal ROM. This is internal RAM. Okay. This is IO ports, input output ports, counter or timer block is also there. There is a serial port, there is a interrupt logic, and there is bus control. Okay. So this is the various components of the microcontroller. But merely mentioning the components is not sufficient. We should know how these components are connected with each other. And this we can understand. The connection of the components we can understand by studying the block diagram of 8051 microcontroller. As far as examination is concerned, you must study the block diagram of 8051 microcontroller. That means you should know the connection between the various components of 8051 microcontroller. Now, the same components here you can observe which are connected with each other. Okay. Now, all of you can observe here CPU. CPU is nothing but a heart of the microcontroller, heart of any computing system. Okay, this CPU is connected with the remaining all components of the microcontroller with the help of a connecting device. You can observe here, this connecting device is called as a bus. And as I told you, various buses are there like data bus, address bus, control bus, and with help of these buses, the CPU is connected to the other components of the microcontroller. Here you can observe. And also what you can see is the microcontroller can be connected to the external world or to the external circuitry with the help of bus only. So at the output, you can observe this is a control bus. All these four are data bus. This is also control bus and this is also control bus. Okay, so various components are connected with each other with help of the buses, and also these components are connected to the external world with the help of buses. The microcontroller is connected with the external devices with the help of buses. Okay, this is what we can learn from this block diagram. And the components which I have told you earlier, all these components are present in this internal block diagram. You can observe oscillator here, you can observe interrupt controller here, bus control, input output port, serial port, RAM, ROM, timers, timer counter. Timer is also used as a counter. So all these components are present within the block diagram of the 8051 microcontroller. Now students, let us learn the function of each and every component of this block diagram one by one. Okay, so here once again I have listed various components of the microcontroller. So the very first unit that we are going to study of 8051 microcontroller is the oscillator. All of you know what oscillator is. Oscillator is a circuit which generates a waveform. And in this case, the oscillator is generating a square type of waveform. And this square wave is used as the clock signal for all the internal circuitry of 8051 microcontroller. Okay, so 8051 microcontroller has on-chip oscillator unit, and function of this is to produce the clock pulses. And what is use of clock pulses? The use of clock pulses is to synchronize the internal operations of 8051. So internal operations of the 8051 must be synchronized with each other. And to synchronize these operations with each other, the timing must be provided to them. And this timing is provided by the oscillator or a clock signal. Okay, so all of you know generally the dancer is dancing, isn't it? And that dancer is dancing to the beat of the music. Okay, so he catches the beat of the music, and along with the beat of the music he dances. Just like that, the operations of 8051 microcontroller are synchronized with respect to the clock frequency. The whole microcontroller operations are running at the beat of the clock. That is what you can say. In simple words, what you can say, all the blocks of the microcontroller are working in synchronization with the beat of the clock. Okay, just like the dancer is dancing to the beat of the music. Students, do you understood what is the function of the clock? Yes? It will initiate the function of every block, and it will provide the timing to every block. Now, what you can observe in the diagram that you are observing on the screen. So the first diagram shows there is some external component connected to the 8051. There are two pins in 8051 called as extol 1 and extol 2. So extol 1 and extol 2, meaning of extol is a crystal. It is not extol, but it is a crystal. So between pin number 18 and pin number 19, the crystal is connected. And this crystal is a quartz crystal. And this quartz crystal is of frequency 12 megahertz, because our 8051 microcontroller is operating at the speed of 12 megahertz. All of you know what is meaning of the megahertz. 1 megahertz is equal to 1 into 10 to the power of 6 hertz. So you remember this. So 12 megahertz means 12 into 10 to the power of 6 hertz. So the microcontroller 8051 is operating at the speed of 12 megahertz. Okay, so between the pins 18 and 19, the external quartz crystal is connected, and along with this quartz crystal, two capacitors C1 and C2 are also connected. So crystal along with this capacitor is forming a circuit which is called as a resonator circuit, and this resonator circuit is producing 12 megahertz square wave, just like that one, which is shown in the diagram. So here you can observe P1, P2, etc. P1, P2. P1 is one clock, P2 is next clock. Okay. So a whole two clock pulses, P1 and P2. They form what is called as state. Okay. Two clock pulses forms a state. Okay. And as you can observe, how many states? 6 states is forming what is called as one machine cycle. That means 12 clock pulses are forming one machine cycle in case of 8051. So the instruction execution can be measured in terms of states or in terms of machine cycles or in terms of number of clock pulses. So this is nothing but the unit of measurement of execution of the instructions. Okay. Students, do you have any doubt about the oscillator and clock frequency? You can ask now. Is anybody? Please ask. Unmute yourself and ask if you have any doubt, or whether you have understood everything. Then you can respond with me by unmuting that you have understood. Then we will go further. Yes, students. Respond. If you have doubt, you can ask. Otherwise, we will move further. If you tell me you don't have any doubt, we will move further. Yes, Vedant, you have any doubt? Unmute
No,
your.
ma'am.
No.
No, ma'am.
You understood the meaning of oscillator and function of the oscillator, isn't it? So, moral of the story is that oscillator is a circuit which produces a square waveform, and to produce a square waveform, external 12 megahertz quartz crystal should be connected to 8051 microcontroller, and this square wave is called as a clock wave, and this clock wave is used to synchronize the internal operations of 8051 microcontroller. And the operation of the microcontroller or instruction execution of the microcontroller can be measured in terms of number of clock pulses. 2 clock pulses form one state, and 6 such states form one machine cycle. That means one machine cycle of 8051 consists of 12 clock pulses. So you should know this as far as examination is concerned. Okay, these small things you should remember, because you have 1 mark questions, and in these 1 mark question it may be asked that how many clock pulses are there in one machine cycle of 8051. So generally this question is asked in examination, so you should answer it 12. Okay, 12 clock pulses and 6 T states. 1 T states means 2 clock pulses. Okay. Now, whether it is compulsory to use the internal oscillator only? No, it is not compulsory. Even you can connect the external clock generator to 8051 microcontroller. That is, suppose if you want to operate the 8051 microcontroller below this 12 megahertz speed, you can do it by connecting external oscillator to the to the 8051 circuit. So these two pins are useful for that purpose, crystal 1 and crystal 2. Instead of connecting crystal there, you can connect the external oscillator to 8051 microcontroller. Okay, now as you understood this particular point, we will now move to the next point, or we will study or discuss the function of the next block of the microcontroller. Okay, so let us go ahead. Now here students, what we are seeing on screen is program counter register and a data pointer register. Okay, so these two registers are 16-bit wide register. Remaining all registers are 8-bit wide, as I told you earlier. What is the computing capacity of 8051? The computing capacity of 8051 is 8-bit. And it is decided by what? It is decided by the data bus width of 8051. And data bus width of 8051 is 8-bit. Okay? And now here we are seeing that two resistors are present in 8051 microcontroller, which are 16-bit wide. That means they are 2 times more as compared to the data bus width. But as all of you know, the address bus width of the microcontroller is 16-bit. And these two resistors are related to addresses. And therefore, width of these resistors is 16-bit. Okay? Now, all of you know what resistor is. Can anybody tell me what resistor is? Yes? Yes, Vedant? What is the meaning of resistor? Yes, tell me. Yes, respond, give me feedback. Our lecture should be interactive, you know. Because this is not a physical class, this is a virtual class. And if it is interactive, then will be, I will come to know that you are involved in the lecture. Otherwise, how can I come to know you are involved or not? Yes, students? Open up your camera, open up your microphone and tell me what is the meaning of the resistor.
Register is a basic unit of storage.
Register is a basic unit of storage. It is not basic unit, rather, Vedant. The basic unit of storage is flip-flop. And register is made with the help of flip-flop. That means if register is 16-bit, meaning of this is that there are 16 flip-flops present in this register. Okay? Have you got the thing? Vedant?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, it
ma'am.
is a group of 16 flip-flops. 16-bit register is a group of 16 flip-flops. Okay, and register is a unit which can store the data. Okay, each flip-flop can store a single bit, 0 or 1. Now, the function of the program counter register is to hold the address of the next instruction to be executed. Okay, as we have learned, 8051 is a programmable machine. That means it has a memory. In its memory, we can write a program. What program contains? Program contains instructions. What are the instructions? Instructions are nothing but the commands to the CPU to tell it that it has to perform some work. And according to that instruction, the CPU will work. And each instruction has a certain location. And that location in the memory is indicated by its address. ओके, जसा तुमच्या घराला ऍड्रेस असतो तसा प्रत्येक मेमरी लोकेशनला ऍड्रेस असतो. आणि प्रत्येक मेमरी लोकेशन मध्ये इन्स्ट्रक्शन स्टोअर केलेली असते. म्हणजे प्रत्येक इन्स्ट्रक्शनला ऍड्रेस असतो. ओके, एक इन्स्ट्रक्शन एक्झिक्यूट होत असते मायक्रो कंट्रोलर मध्ये, त्यावेळेस दुसरी इन्स्ट्रक्शन ही क्यू मध्ये असते आणि जी आता पुढे एक्झिक्यूट होणार आहे, जी इन्स्ट्रक्शन क्यू मध्ये आहे, तिचा जो ऍड्रेस आहे तो कशामध्ये स्टोअर केलेला असतो, तो प्रोग्राम काउंटर मध्ये स्टोअर केलेला असतो. सो दिस आन्सर यू हॅव टू राईट इन इंग्लिश, नॉट इन मराठी. सो हाऊ यू विल एक्सप्लेन? The program counter is a 16-bit register and it holds the address of the next instruction to be executed. Okay. It does not have internal address. There is one speciality of 8051 microcontroller, that all the registers, they also have their own address, which is not present in microprocessor. This is also a speciality of microcontroller. But this program counter does not have internal address. You must remember that it does not have internal address. Program counter is a register which does not have internal address. See, this is also a question for examination for 1 marks or for multiple choice. So you have to remember this. Program counter is a register which does not have any internal address only. Okay. Are you getting the point?
Yes, ma'am.
Now let us move to the next type of register, which is called as DPTR. The long form of DPTR is data pointer. D means data, PTR means pointer. Okay. So this data pointer register is divided into two parts. One is DPH and another is DPL. H means higher byte and L means lower byte. So whole 16 bits are divided into two parts. Each part is of width 8 bit, and 8 bit width is also called as byte, as all of you know. And the upper byte is called as DPH. H means higher. And the lower byte is called as DPL. L means lower. Okay. So the function of this DPTR register is to furnish the memory address for internal and external code access and external data access. That means, suppose if you want to access some external code or if you want to access some internal code, then its starting address will be stored in DPTR register. Similarly, if you want to access some external data in your program or in your application, in that case, the starting address of external data is stored in the DPTR. So it is mainly used to implement arrays. As starting address is stored within it, you can increment it each time to point to the next location. All of you know how to access arrays. You have already studied it in C programming. In the similar way, the data arrays are accessed in case of 8051 microcontroller. So in short, now what we have studied there are two registers which are 16-bit wide, and these registers are program counter register and data pointer register. Program counter register is used to point to the next instruction to be executed, whereas data pointer register is used to point to the internal code or external code or the external data. So in short, this you can tell. Students, do you have any doubt in this? Vedant?
No, ma'am.
So very small things are there in this paper. Each and everything you should know. If you want to become developer, then you should know each and every point of your microcontroller. Then you can understand what actual capability is of microcontroller, and then you can make use of that capability of 8051 microcontroller for your application. So internal block diagram is important. The instruction set is important. Addressing modes are important. And assembler directives are important. And how to write a program and how to connect the external devices to the microcontroller. It is very, very important. Now, only 4 minutes are remaining. And I want to discuss with you, all of you, open up your cameras and open up your microphones. Let me discuss with you how do you find this virtual lecture, whether it is good or it is less good, or what improvement that we can do. But what I expect from you that the communication must be two-way communication. Our lecture should be interactive lecture. Okay? Students, open up your cameras, open up your microphones. Why don't you? How can I understand that you are involved in the lecture, you are getting the things? Yes, Vedant, Rohit, Avdut, everybody. At least for saying goodbye, you can open up your cameras and microphones. At least you can you can do that, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
Why you are scared to talk? Even you can talk in Marathi during the lecture if you fear to talk in English. But I want to tell you that you should try to talk in English because it will be very, very helpful for you, for your further profession. Okay? काय चूक झाली तर झाली मुलांना, छोटी मोठी, इथे आम्ही करेक्ट करायला आहोत ना. पुढे डायरेक्ट इंटरव्ह्यू फेस करणार आहात का, सांगा मला. त्यापेक्षा आधी आमच्याशी बोलायला शिका ना तुम्ही. थोडं थोडं छोट्या छोट्या सिंपल इंग्लिश मध्ये तुम्ही बोललं पाहिजे. काय शंका आहे ते व्यक्त झाल्या पाहिजे. का घाबरताय मला?
No, ma'am.
कोण म्हणतंय ते? नो ना. घाबरायचं काहीच कारण नाहीये. आणि काय शंका असेल तर विचारायचं. आज काय शिकलो आपण एवढं तर कोणीतरी सांगा मला. चला सांगा, कोण सांगणार? काय शिकलोय आपण? पटपट. मुली, मुलं, कोणी पण सांगा. कॉम्पोनंट्स कोणते आहेत 8051 मायक्रोकंट्रोलरचे, आणि त्यातल्या 2 कॉम्पोनंटचं डिटेल वर्किंग आपण शिकलेलो आहोत. कोणते ते 2 कॉम्पोनंट आहेत ज्याचं वर्किंग आपण शिकलोय? बोला पटकन. वही पेन घेऊन बसता की नाही सोबत? वही पेन घेऊन बसायचं आणि लिहायचे इम्पॉर्टंट पॉइंट जे काही मी सांगते ते. कोणते 2 कॉम्पोनंट्स आपण शिकलोय सांगा मला. येस वेदांत. रोहित, भगत, सौरभ सुर्वे आहे का आज?
प्रोग्राम काउंटर आणि डेटा.
प्रोग्राम काउंटर, डेटा पॉइंटर, आणि त्याच्या अगोदर काय शिकलो आपण? हे काय आहे?
8505
8051
ऑसिलेटर आणि क्लॉक शिकलोय.
हो मॅम.
ऑसिलेटर आणि क्लॉक शिकलोय मुलांनो. सो टुडे वी हॅव स्टडीड 2 components in detail. The first component is oscillator. Oscillator produces clock. The function of clock we have studied. And the second point that we have studied